Welcome to Black Quarterback Series. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it.
Take us through the emotions of walking up the field a winner today.
Yeah, no, it feels great. Obviously, that was a plan for us coming in here and starting the season off the right way, and I think we did that in all phases. In the second half for us was huge today. You can just feel that momentum, switching, and it just feels good to get a win. Never take.
Looking to throw a fade far side. It is caught for the touchdown.
Say if your name, my name is Keith, so the Black Quarterback Series. And today's guy that we're going to show the most love to is the opening guy. He's probably on the thumbnail. Is Jordan Love. So when I was watching Jordan Love, he looks like Aaron Rodgers. Funny enough, right? He looks like baby Aaron Rodgers. From the arm talent to the way he moves his body to the way that he just plays quarterback looks like Aaron Rodgers. And that's to be expected. He was behind a GOAT for 4 years. You're going to develop that. Kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo. If you look at some of Jimmy Garoppolo's stuff, it's very Tom Brady-like. He sat behind a GOAT for 4 years. That tends to what's going to happen. Now, it was against Chicago, so I don't want to put too much stock into it. But when you go 15 for 27, 245 yards and 3 touchdowns in your first real legitimate start where you're the unquestioned leader, that's nothing to snooze. That's nothing to sneeze at. They ran the ball really well. He missed some really big throws that would have really, really blew this game open. He left about 2-3 touchdowns on the board, but he was really, really good. I was very impressed what I saw. When I went into it not expecting much at all and thinking it was going to go bad, they went up 17-6, and they never looked back after that. It got kind of close. Fields and the guys kind of brought it closer, but it was never close. Aaron Jones was the star. I'm going to leave his numbers up here, and we're going to move on to the other side of the ball. Well, the other offense. So Justin Fields was 24 for 37, 216 yards, a touchdown, an interception. He ran for 9. He carried the ball 9 times, and he ran for 59 yards. When is Justin Fields going to do anything other than run? And I don't say this much because I love rushers. But when is Justin Fields going to do something other than running for his life, right? But you might be like, Keys, they couldn't protect him in this, and the third. I get that. I completely understand that. So it's like, is Justin Fields developing, or are they just not protecting him? Because you can bring in as many skilled position players as you want to in Chicago, but if Justin Fields is not going to develop, and if y'all not going to protect him, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Justin Fields is electric as usual. He's an electric runner, one of the best runners that we have in the league, right? So you got to give the man some protection. You got to give him some protection. Like when we talk about Lamar, he can do all these great things, but if you're not protecting him, what's the point? So Love outplayed Fields, and Green Bay just owns the Bears. I just spoke about Lamar. Let's get into Lamar. Lamar was 17 for 32, 169 yards and interception, 6 carries for 38 yards. Now you'd be like, Keith, them are not good numbers. But as you see throughout the league, and the more I talk, nobody really threw for very many yards. And if they did throw for very many yards, it wasn't like, oh my God, they had a great week. Even our guy Patrick, who I am not going to cover this week because I did a community post about him and I just didn't have time with all the guys. He didn't throw for very many yards, and he lost. He lost against a good Detroit team. So you might be like, oh, we waited this long for Lamar and this, and the third. You got to think. A lot of the starting quarterbacks, this is their first real action all year. A lot of them didn't play in preseason. And just to get it out the way, all up the East Coast, it was terrible weather. So it was rain all up the East Coast. So any East Coast games, even the one today against the Jets, that's going to be what it is. Also, and it's also my birthday. You can put happy birthday in the comment section and all that great stuff. And so he was rusty, and just the injury bug just continues to get the Baltimore Ravens. I can't remember the name of the user, but I'm going to leave all that up here. A lot of guys got hurt yesterday, which led to the poor offensive line play. But Zay Flowers was excellent. 9 receptions, 76 yards. He looked like everything we needed him to be. Odell was kind of gimpy, but it didn't really take much for them to get it going because they got the running game going in the second half because it wasn't really going through the air because of the weather. And they ended up winning pretty convincingly, like I said they would. The Texans played them really, really tough up until it was time to win the game. And the Texans showed you why they're like the first or second youngest team in the league. So, and shout out to J.K. Dobbins. Just, it's an awful situation this young, great back has. And I was talking to my uncle yesterday, and I think it's over for him. I think Baltimore will bring him back on another prove-it deal. Let him rehab because that's how good of an organization Baltimore is. But as far as that, I think that might be it for him. I hope I'm wrong. JK, prove me wrong, brother. We would love to see you run more. He had a touchdown yesterday. He was looking good. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, JK, because your career might be at its tail end. So let's move to the other offense. CJ Stroud was 28 for 44, 242 yards. I can't really get a read on him. I don't really even know what to make of him. That Baltimore defense is really good. They put him in some situation that you could tell that he wasn't really comfortable in. And he's an Ohio State quarterback. I hate to even put that on him, but hey, there's no good track record of Ohio State quarterback being very good. So I don't really have a read on him. Since we're talking about a rookie, let's go ahead and get to Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson was 24 for 37, 223 yards, touchdown and interception, 10 carries and 40 yards and a touchdown. And he left the game with some type of knee injury, but the game was already over at that point, so they didn't want to test him. His coach said that he'll be fine and he'll be ready to go next week, but he is going to be gimpy. He got to work on not taking these huge hits. I remember when Lamar first came in the league and he was taking these big hits. He stopped taking these hits. All Lamar's injuries have been through the pocket, so I expect Richardson to do that same thing. I expect Richardson to learn how to slide and learn how to not get hit, I hope. Or it's going to be a really short career for him. He showed flashes, man. When Richardson pops, he pops, right? And he has that Cam Newton type of build. I think his ceiling is Cam Newton. Cam Newton was never a tactical passer, but he was such a supreme athlete that he but he made the Panthers relevant for over a decade because of that ultra supreme athleticism. So ultimately, it was a great game. Like I said in my preview for the year, I thought this game was going to be terrible. I didn't think he was going to pass for this many yards and be as efficient as he was. But he was. Shout out to the coach. He's probably trying to turn Richardson into Jalen Hurts, which is very possible. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do next year. And so the last rookie, Bryce Young, was 20 for 38, 146 yards passing, touchdown, 2 interceptions. And both of the picks were just rookie picks. Jesse Bates baited him into 2 picks. If I can show him on the screen, I will. Jesse Bates got him twice. And, that's just a rookie mistake. Jesse Bates is an elite defensive player, and he's going to make plays. This is not San Diego State you're playing anymore. You know what I mean? And, as a rookie, you come to learn that and you get better at it, and I think Bryce Young will be better for it. He made some good passes. He's not playing with as much talent as Desmond Ridder is playing with, and so that kind of showed in the score. But I think he did fine. So I don't really have a read on Ridder. They ran the ball really well, as both teams ran the ball really well. I don't really have a read on Desmond. 15 for 18, 115 yards. So I don't really have a read on him. But he played decent. Nothing too much to take away from it. So let's go to Jalen. So Jalen Hurts was 22 for 33, 170 yards, and a touchdown. They go up 14-0, and it was close the rest of the way. I figured it was going to be close because it was a Bill Belichick team, but for the Eagles to constantly making mistakes and to constantly be in these games where they up huge and then give up big plays, that spills over from last year. I remember saying this last year. You got to take teams out. And if it wasn't for somebody on defense, if I find his name, I'll put it up. If it wasn't for the player on defense making an all-worldly play, we might be sitting here talking about them being on 1. Because they went up 14, and it just seemed like, all right, they took our best punch. We ain't got another punch for them. Now, granted, the Patriots play well. Mac Jones played well. That Patriots defense played well. But that's not a talented unit. You're more talented than them in every position. You have to beat them. It should have been like the Dallas game. I'm not really going to get into the Dallas game. When I get to Dallas, I'm going to leave his numbers on the screen. But it should have been like the Dallas game. It should have been 30. It should have been 30-15 or 30-20. But they only scored 20 because they scored in the fourth quarter and the Eagles playing prevent. It should have went that way. It shouldn't have went where you're in a dogfight the whole game and now you look up and you got to make an otherworldly play to win the game. You see what I'm saying? You're more talented than them. You have to prove that. And it just seems like the Eagles either have a good first half or a good second half. They can never put 4 quarters together of good ball. If they put 4 quarters together of good ball, they probably have the Super Bowl championship right now. And so we're going to move on to Russ. So Russell Wilson was 27 for 34, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. It looked like an NFL offense. I think I told you guys later on in the season last year that I stopped covering Russ because I just couldn't watch it anymore. And they were out of the playoffs, and it was just terrible. Now Hackett, it was awful, right? He looked more like himself today. He was checking balls down. He was making good decisions. It looked like an NFL offense. Sean Payton tried to get it going with the onside kick like he did in the Super Bowl. Now granted, they lost 17-16 to a much better than I thought they would be Oakland Raiders team, Vegas Raiders team. I apologize. But they play well. I think if they play decent, and they open the offense up a little bit, they'll have a chance to win more. But like I said, the weather was bad everywhere yesterday, so Russ didn't take very many opportunities, and the 1-2 opportunities that he did take, he missed them. So Russ is still old. Don't get me wrong. Russ is still old, but he looks more. My uncle made this point yesterday. There's a check down in every offense or in every play that they run now. As to last year, it really wasn't that. It was more of a Russ save us type situation, and he can do that, but I just don't think he's built like that anymore. But they play well. He didn't have Jerry Jeudy, and for them to be in the game like this, I got to give him shouts out to that. But you got to score 20, 25 points. That can't be a theme this year. But they did score a touchdown on their first drive. So if you want to take anything away from it, they did score a touchdown today. So I think that's a positive. And so my last guy of today is Deshaun Watson. Now we all know what Deshaun Watson went through last year and everything that happened last year. Like I told you guys, I'm not covering and I'm not talking about that anymore because, he's back on the field and I'm talking about what's on the field. He was 16 for 29, 154 yards, a touchdown, interception, and a touchdown run, 5 carries, 45 yards. They're going to run the ball. That is what Cleveland does. Nick Chubb was spectacular as always. He just tends to always make an appearance whenever I talk about the Browns. He was 18 carries, 106 yards. Watson looked more like Deshaun yesterday. Now, I think Dan Orlovsky said it on ESPN earlier today. As of today, September 11th, you really can't gauge anybody's passing game this week. And I'm going to add to that. You really can't gauge anybody's passing game this week because, 1, the weather was bad, and 2, nobody played in the preseason, like I said earlier. Nobody played in the preseason. So I think give it about 2-3 weeks, and we'll see who rises to the top, who falls off. We'll see. But Deshaun, I think, looked good based off the circumstances. And the Browns defense is just a monster. I'm not looking forward to playing them when they go and play Baltimore. Um, they had 3 sacks, but the 3 sacks don't tell you how well they played. They played lights out. Now I think Joe Burrow is gimpy, but I'm not going to give him that excuse. You got to play. We got to play better. So, and Joe Burrow's offensive line is terrible as well. Um, so yeah. So that's all the black quarterbacks. That's all the black quarterbacks in everybody. I didn't do Geno. I just ran out of time, and I didn't think Geno did anything significant yesterday to warrant me spending time on talking about Geno. But here's his stats. Like I said, I did a community post about Patrick, but here's his stats. And also, I want to give a big shout out to Shedeur Sanders. He didn't play well the first half, but he ended up getting it going. He's showing you y'all might be new to him, but over here we're not new to him at all. You know what I mean? Here's Shadeur's numbers from last week after a tough first half. They came back strong in the second half, and it was not close. And a couple guys and couple games that are not really in our scope of what we talk about. We're going to talk about them anyway. And one last thing. Tyreek Hill is for real. Tua Tagovailoa is real. And like I told you guys in the preview last week, that was the best game of the weekend. I said it was probably going to be the best game of the weekend. It was probably going to be shootout. And it lived up to all the billing. Tua had 466 passing yards, and I think I don't have this in front of me. And I think Tyreek Hill had at least 215. And it looked like 215. You know how like I'm mad when you just put him on streaks and tap triangle? That's what Tua did. And it was just so accurate. Both plays. I love to see Tua is going to be really, really good if he could just stay healthy. So shout out to Tua. Shout out to Caleb. And I think that's all I got for you guys. These videos are going to be much longer than you guys are used to. So stay tuned for that. I'm working on the putting this in podcast format as well. So if anybody has any like tips about how to turn these type of videos into podcasts, let me know. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.